Who do we have left, Lady B?
Bill from Naperville.
Oh, excellent. Hey, Bill, welcome.
Hey, great show. Yeah, I want to be a little palate cleanser. Are you into the
Sure.
whole UFO disclosure? Yeah.
Oh,
I've been following this for a long time, and I will say, definitely something is there, but
sure.
unless you've seen it, I have never seen any clear evidence. And think about all the camera phones and everything we have now. Have you ever seen any clear evidence that there are any aliens of any sort
Well,
walking around?
here would be the question. Um, this is always the part that sticks out to me whenever I watch Back to the Future 2. In Back to the Future 2, you'll recall that he has a hoverboard skateboard, right? And this
Right.
is one of the big plot points is this hoverboard skateboard that has apparently got two little anti-gravity pads on the bottom of it that that you can use as and everything else in the world around him is relatively normal. There's flying cars, but there's this one of the things that always stands out. From a technological standpoint, if we had that, game over. If you could put a certain amount of weight on an anti-gravity pad that runs on a tiny battery, that's the end of friction. And with the end of friction comes the end of fuel costs, which means we get into carbon reclamation instantly, meaning that all the technological advancements in the world advance at a clip beyond what AI is even capable of doing. It's an absurdity. The same thing is true to some degree of UFOs. If you're a if you're a UFO, let's say, and again, all the stuff that's coming out from the Pentagon is that there are UFOs. Well, all that says is there are unidentified flying objects, or what they call unidentified aerial phenomenon, because that's what you would call something
Yeah,
before you
yeah,
know it's
because,
ball lightning, right? That's if you find out
right.
some. Yeah,
Because
go ahead.
because flying, the word flying could be a misnomer.
Sure,
But think about what we're doing right now, and take a quantum leap in technology. Let's
sure.
say these are something run by some aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't they use highly advanced drones, just like we use drones now? I mean, imagine the drones they would have. So
Sure.
why would they ever take a chance of putting living beings in a ship that could crash, be captured? All the, I don't believe all that.
Well, it
Roswell
may
stuff.
right it may happen in stages. Maybe when we were more primitive, um, maybe they dropped pilots all the time, or those were in fact their drones. They just have high level cyborgs that look like organic material to us because they're so far advanced. Right? That's a possibility.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah, and you might get past the speed and the maneuverability and all that stuff. I think what you can't get by is having the living beings being able to survive all that acceleration and changes of direction.
Well, it's
So
deceleration.
again,
It's never acceleration that's the problem. It's deceleration. That's what kills you when you fall off a tall building, my friend. It's not cement poisoning. It's deceleration trauma when you stop too quickly. And that's one of the stories around, for example, the Iron Man suit in the Iron Man movies is that he changes direction so fast he would black out in some cases. Well, that's the reason this is handled in the story is that it pressurizes around his legs, keeps the blood in the upper part of his body, so even if it wanted to drop out of his head, it couldn't. And then eventually the nanoparticles that he has through his chest piece go out through his blood and stabilize him for flight. Now, that said, if you were an alien or an alien being that was capable of interstellar travel at a speed and clip that didn't require you to be 90,000 years old before you reached the next planet that had any living beings on it, whether they were sentient or not on them, if you're capable of all that, you're capable of everything else. Now, whether you're sloppy because you quite frankly don't care if we know sometimes, that's another thing. And that may be the baseline of this, is that our ego is about, oh, what, they don't want to be discovered by us. Well, maybe they're doing their best, like, when most people set up a duck blind, they want it to look as much like a little hill as possible. But if they see you poking out, do you really care if the duck sees you? You don't respect it. The only reason you don't want it to run is if you're trying to catch it at the time or shoot it at the time. If you're not doing that, you're like, oh, that one saw me. Who cares? And it might, as you get further along, they might because we've advanced very quickly as a species, extraordinarily quickly. In terms of, in the last 250 years, we have gone from flint and steel and coal-fired energy to nanotechnology and AI, and we've gotten off the planet in under 100 years. That's, from, in terms of human history, that's amazing. So again, look how we don't really care if we're driving through an area and a native culture that may not have seen a car sees us or not, and they may build little fake cars for years afterward, going, the gods around here ride around in these Model T looking things. That's not our concern. This is a topic, by the way, we could talk about forever. And for those of you that want to know, a UFO report has been released by the Pentagon. The government is showing more of their evidence than ever. A couple of years ago, the Russians released a big chunk of their stuff. Some of the southern states, or southern nations of the world, the below the equator nations of the world, worldwide, have released in the southern hemisphere. I can talk. The countries of the southern hemisphere who have, for whatever reason, had fewer releases of this information, have decided to dump it all in the last few years as well. And so we're kind of hitting a point where people's interest and the available knowledge is meeting. And it's fascinating, and I love it. And I believe mathematically it's absurd that we're the only intelligent life in the universe. It's beyond egotistical and goofy. The question is, can they or would they come here? If they did, again, would they be drones or would they come in person? Are they actually coming from here? Maybe they live in the oceans and they're an advanced society that just flies up in the sky every so often, and they're actually terrestrial, but in another form. I mean, there's a lot in this, and it's fascinating, and there's no harm, no foul in discussing it, and the fascinating aspect of how it would affect life on Earth. If we found out more about it. So that fascinates me. Again, is it going to change how I feel about the infrastructure bill? No, not really. So thanks so much. Thanks to Joan Esposito for letting me fill in for her as well. Thanks to Lady B. We love you. It's always great to hear you, during the breaks and be there. It's like old home week. I appreciate it. Thanks to everybody at WCPT.